Okay, good afternoon, all the students. We'll start our next lecture, that is lecture 4 under module 5. In the last class, we covered two concepts, error estimation and estimating binomial proportions and the binomial distribution. Now we have understood how error estimation in a machine learning model can be linked to this binomial distribution representation. Okay, so the probability of expecting a random variable y take a particular value r, we denoted that as n factorial by r factorial into n minus r factorial multiplied by probability raised to the power of r, probability p raised to the power of r into 1 minus p raised to the power of 1 minus r. This is the binomial distribution we understood in the last class. So the probability of we simplified this into a problem of coin tosses. Okay, so when we toss a coin for n times and expecting r number of heads, okay, the outcome should be heads, and expecting r such heads. In that case, what is the probability of observing a specific number of heads are, say 6 number of heads out of 10 coin tosses? That can be expressed as n factorial, that is the number of coin tosses factorial divided by the number of times head is seen on the top, and that factorial r factorial, and n minus r the number of times tail is observed. Okay, the opposite of the event we are interested in. Okay, that is n minus r factorial multiplied by p is the probability of head turning on the top in a single coin toss. Okay, the probability of head being observed in a single coin toss is p raised to the power of r, that is the number of times head is observed out of n coin tosses, into 1 minus p is the number of times head didn't occur in the coin tosses, means the number of times tail has occurred, raised to the power of n minus r, that is the number of times tail has been observed. Okay, so this is the probability, and this is the number of coin toss. This is the probability of observing heads. This is the number of coin tosses, and r is the number of times head is observed. Okay, so whenever you're conducting an experiment, say these 100 times or 1000 times, out of that, what is the probability of observing an event given number of times? Okay, so this is being related to your problem of testing the hypothesis accuracy. Now 100 data points are given. Out of that, 5 times prediction error happened. 5 times the outcome label is predicted wrongly, and 95 times the outcome label is predicted correctly. In that case, if your R is number of wrong predictions made, okay, in that case we count the probability of those errors as R by N. We calculate the probability of those errors as R by N, where R is the number of errors made out of how many data points? 100 data points. So it is 5%, 0.05. The probability is 0.05. Okay, that is how we understood the binomial distribution in relation with your model's accuracy estimation. Right? Now, in today's class, we are going to see about the measures like mean and variance, and what is estimator, and what is the bias related to the estimator and the variance. Okay, the two properties of a random variable that are often of interest are its expected value and its variance. Now you know what is an expected value, right? The expected value is indicated by mu. Mu is the mean or average of that particular random variable, and variance is denoted by sigma. Right? Sorry, sigma is for standard deviation. Yeah, variance. Variance is denoted by sigma. Okay, so the two properties of a random variable that we are often interested in, we are interested to study about a particular experiment or about a particular model, are these two parameters. One is mu, the mean of the values or the mean of the expected values, and the variance. Variance means how far a particular data point varies from its average. The difference between each data points, the difference between each data point and its mean when squared and averaged, that will give you the variance. I'm repeating again. When you calculate the average of all the data points, say you have data points like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What will be the average of this? Mu of this? 3. Now how to calculate variance of this? 3 minus 1 whole square plus, 3 minus 1 whole square plus 2 minus, 3 minus 2 whole square plus 3 minus 3 whole square plus 4 minus 3 whole square plus 5 minus 3 whole square. What are we doing here? We are calculating each data point's deviation or difference from the average. Okay, squaring that difference and summing them up, adding them up, and dividing by the number of data points. Here the number of data points is 5. Okay, that will give you the variance. So this variance tells us how much is the data distributed. Okay, how much is the data spread. Here the data is spread normally, but sometimes if you take 1, 10 and 100, here the variance is very high. Did you notice the difference between the data points is too high? So the variance will be very high. The deviation from the average of these data points is too high. The variance is too high. Okay, in that case we say the variance is very high. In this case we say the variance is low. Right? Now the expected value is the average of the values taken on by repeatedly sampling the random variable. Okay, when we are taking the sample out of a population and repeatedly we perform the sample, then you take an average, that is the expected value of that sample. Or if you are calculating error, it is expected value of the sample error. Okay, so what is the formal definition given for this? Consider a random variable y that takes on the possible values y1, y2 and so on up to yn. You doesn't know the random variable's values, what value it may take until you perform the experiment. That is why it is called as random variable. Okay, but we are considering that it may take possible values y1, y2 and so on up to yn. Then the expected value of y, or we can also represent it as E of y, which is called as mean value of y or average of y, and that is calculated by multiplying the values outcome, the random variables possible value multiplied by the probability of random variable taking that value. Did you understand? The expected value of a random variable y represented as E of y can be calculated as sum of, we are using sigma here, sum of product of the value of that random variable and the probability of that random variable taking that value. Got it? I'll give you an example, you'll understand better. The expected value of y is calculated as the sum of product of the random variable's value and the probability of that random variable taking up that particular value. right? That is called as the expected value of y, or the mean of y, or average of y. Now take this example, it will be very clear for you. For example, if y, the random variable, takes on the value 1 with probability 0.7, means 70% of the time y will take the value 1, and the value 2 with probability 0.3, means when the experiment is conducted, 30% of the time y will take up the value 2. Okay, so the probability associated with the value 1 is 0.7 and the value associated with 2 is 0.3. Then its expected value is, or the mean value is, or the average value of y is, how do you calculate? Sum of products of that value and the probability of random variable taking up that value. So what is the value here? Y is equal to 1. What is the probability of y taking up that value? 0.7. Now what is the value being taken up here? 2. What is the probability of y taking up that value? 0.3. Sum them up. So it is 0.7 plus 0.6, which will give you the expected value of y, that is 1.3. Is it clear, students? Simple mathematics, right? Now in case the random variable y is governed by a binomial distribution. Now say this random variable y is in correspondence with a binomial distribution, in accordance with a binomial distribution, is governed by a binomial distribution. Then it can be shown that the expected value of y is n into p, where n is the number of data points and p is the probability of some event. In that case, the expected value of y, or the mean of y, can be represented as the product of n into p. Okay, n and p are the parameters of binomial distribution, but what actually they are? N is the number of data points and p is the probability of occurrence of some event. So the expected value of y can be written as np. Okay. Now second property, the variance, captures the width or spread of the probability distribution, and it tells us how much difference there is between each data point from the mean. Okay, that is called as variance. It tells us about the width or spread of the probability distribution. Then how can you define variance? For variance we take VAR of y, and sigma, it is not for variance, as I said in previous slide. Sigma is for standard deviation only. Okay, do not get confused. Sigma symbol is for standard deviation, and for variance we use VAR explicitly. Okay, now the variance of a random variable y, denoted by VAR of y, is represented as mean of the sum of squares of all the deviations of data points from the mean. I'm repeating again. Variance of a random variable y is nothing but the expected value of the deviations of each of the data points from the mean squared and summed up. Expected value means, again, it is the mean. Okay, now as I showed you, when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the mean is 3, now each of these elements difference, 1 minus 3 whole square plus 2 minus 3 whole square plus 3 minus 3 whole square plus 4 minus 3 whole square plus 5 minus 3 whole square divided by 5. That will give you the variance. And that is represented as, instead of divided by 5, you are writing it as expected value, because it is nothing but mean. Okay, so expected value of the deviations of each of the data point y, each of the value y, from the mean of the values of y. Square them, okay, and add them. Find out the mean. That is nothing but the variance of y. Got it? That will explain about the width or spread of the probability distribution. So if you have a normal distribution like this, and this is the mean, now the difference of these values from the mean is called as the variance. Now when you take square root of this variance, you get standard deviation. Okay? Did you understand from this curve? The middle point is called as the mean or average. You know that, right? When you have 60 students data, 60 you add up all the data and divide it by 60, you'll get the average of that particular parameter, right? In the same way, in this curve, if you take this as mu, then in this normal distribution, the difference of the data points from this mean or average is called as variance. Now square root of that variance will give you standard deviation, right? Now the square root of the variance is called the standard deviation of y, which is represented by sigma suffix y. Okay, now the standard deviation of a random variable y denoted by sigma y, how can you represent that? Just put square root over this variance, that is standard deviation. Okay, square root of expected value of all the data points deviations from the mean of y squared and summed up. Got it? Now in case the random variable y is governed by a binomial distribution, then the variance and the deviation, standard deviation, are given by, you know what is expected value of y in terms of a binomial distribution? It is n into p. Now how is variance of y represented in terms of binomial distribution? It is np multiplied by 1 minus p. That is the probability of occurrence of the opposite of the event you are interested in. Okay, so it is np into 1 minus p. Now what is standard deviation? Simply apply square root over that. It is square root of np into 1 minus p, right? Now that we have shown that the random variable, that is sample error, obeys a binomial distribution. What is sample error? The error associated with the sample you have picked from the population. Okay, that is called a sample error, represented by error S of h. Now we have shown that the random variable, now our random variable we are interested in the error associated with the sample. In coin toss experiment, the random variable you are interested in is the outcomes and number of heads. If you are interested, say specific number of heads you are interested in, that will be the outcome of the random variable. Here what you are interested in, you are interested to know the sample error. So we are considering this sample error as the random variable now. Now this obeys a binomial distribution. Now we have to return to our primary question. What is our actual question we have started with? So that we transformed into binomial distribution and tried to understand the sample error, true error, binomial distribution interchangeably. We are discussing interchangeably these two concepts from yesterday's class. But why have we come to this kind of discussion? What is our seed question? What is our preliminary question? What is our starting question that led to this much of discussion? That is, what is the likely difference between the sample error in a population? You have a sample. Now, what is the likely difference between the error associated with this sample and the true error associated with the population? Means you have developed a machine learning model and you have taken certain samples and you have made the machine learn and find out the accuracy in its prediction. Now with the sample, this is the error associated. Say 4% it is giving error and 96% it is giving correct predictions. Now take a new data point from the population which is unseen by your machine learning model. Now what is the true error? Whether it is making the prediction correctly or wrong, that is indicated by error d of h. Why we are using d here? We have picked up the new instance, or we have picked up the new data point, or we have picked up the unseen data point.
Class is going on, half an hour. Half an hour, class is going on.
Okay, so what is the likely difference between this sample error associated with the sample, and whenever you pick a new instance or a new data point from the distribution D, that is the distribution of the population, okay, the distribution of the entire population from which you have picked up the sample. Okay, so what is the true error associated with that new instance? How good is that instance predicted, whether it is predicted correctly or wrongly? Okay, that is the error associated with the larger population. That is called as the true error, that is indicated by error D of H. So our question at hand is, what is the difference between sample error and the true error? Means, what is the difference between the model performing with the sample and with the new instance drawn from the larger population? Okay, that we are going to find out. Now let us describe error S of H and error D of H using the binomial distribution. Okay, we then have, what is the error S of H? Number of wrong predictions are out of total data points n. So that is the error associated with the sample. And if you take a new instance and pass it on to the machine learning model, and what is the probability of that instance being predicted wrongly? That is P, which is called the true error. I'm repeating again, listen carefully. If from a sample of n data points, if there are wrong predictions made, in that case, the sample error is R by n. Now, you take a new instance from the population, the probability of that new instance being predicted wrong is, let us indicate that as P. Okay, so our objective is to find out what is the difference between sample error R by n and true error P. Now, statisticians call this sample error as an estimator for the true error, error D of H. Correct, right? We are just estimating how good does your machine learning model perform with the sample. That is why it is called as an estimator. It is an error estimator. The sample error is called as an estimator. You are just guessing what would be the error made by a model on the sample. You are just estimating that measure. You are just estimating that quantity. You are just estimating that number. Okay, that is called as sample error. Now, that is we are calling that as an estimator of the true error. We are not saying that sample error is same as the true error, right? This much error is found with the sample, and same error is found with the same error is found with the larger population. Do you state that both are equal? No. You're just saying that this sample error is an estimation of the true error. They may not be equal, but we should see that they are close enough. They may not be equal. We can't make them equal, but we should see that they are close enough. The sample error should be close enough to the true error. Only then you can say that your machine learning model is highly generalizable. Got it? Now, in general, an estimator is any random variable used to estimate some parameter of the underlying population from which the sample is drawn, right? So, an estimator is any random variable. You are taking the estimator as any random variable, because when you are estimating the error of a sample, do you know how much would be the error in advance? No. Until unless you perform the experiment, until unless you train the model and see the training accuracy and the test accuracy, you can't say that what would be the estimation of that error of the sample, right? That is why we consider this sample error as a random variable. And in general, an estimator is any random variable used to estimate some parameter of the underlying population from which the sample is drawn. This here our sample is taken as our sample is taken from a larger population which is having distribution D, and that sample error we are finding. Now this sample error is just an estimation of the error that would be made with the unseen data, that would be made with the larger population's data. Okay, now we define the estimation bias to be the difference between the expected value of the estimator and the true value of the parameter. That is what we are trying to find out, right? What is the estimation bias? You have sample error and you have the true error. What is the difference between them? That is called as the estimation bias. Okay, you have some bias in your estimation. You have some mistake in your estimation. That is why your true error and your sample error are not matching. Okay, that is called as the estimation bias. There is some bias associated with your estimation. So what is the formal definition for this estimation bias? The estimation bias of an estimator y for an arbitrary parameter p is given as E of y, that is the mean value of y minus p. P means the value that is predicted. This is the mean of all the sample errors minus p, which has to be the original prediction. Now what is the difference between them? That is called as estimation bias. The estimation bias of an estimator y for an arbitrary parameter p is represented as mean of y minus p. The difference between them is called as the estimation bias. Now if the estimation bias is 0, means there is no difference between your sample and your true error. Both are same. Both are same. In that case, we say that your random variable y, or in this case, the sample error is unbiased estimate of your true error. Your sample error is represented by y. Suppose your sample error is represented by y and your true error is represented by p. If the difference between y and p is 0, it indicates that your sample error is an unbiased estimate of your true error. Right? Means your sample error, the difference between your sample error and the true error is 0. Means you have estimated very well that your model is making this much correct predictions and these many errors. And same way it is working with the unseen data also. In that case, we say sample error and true error are, the difference between them is 0. Means your sample error is unbiased estimate of your true error. Okay. Now notice this will be the case if the average of many random values of y generated by repeated random experiments converges towards p. Right? You take lots and lots of samples and calculate their sample errors. Now take the average of those sample errors. It is almost equal to your true error p. In that case, it is converging towards p. Means your sample errors, mean of your sample errors is slowly converging towards p, indicating that your model is performing very, very well with the unseen data also. Got it? So is sample error an unbiased estimator for the true error? Yes, because for a binomial distribution, the expected value R is equal to NP. We know that. The expected value of R means the expected value of the random variable y equal to R is it can be denoted as NP, the number of data points in the sample multiplied by the probability of the event you are interested in. Okay. Now it follows, given that n is a constant, because n is number of data points. For any sample you take, number of data points is a constant. You fix that, and you vary in the type of data points, but you fix the number of data points, right? So n is a constant. That then it follows that the expected value of r by n is nothing but p. Okay, now when you have made n as constant and when you have taken r as the number of the value that y can assume, in that case you can equate the probability of an event you are interested is nothing but r by n. R is the event you are interested in out of total number of data points. Say here you are interested in number of wrong predictions out of total predictions. That can be equated to P, which is your true error. Now when your sample error and the true error are almost equal, then you say you got an unbiased estimate of the sample error. You have arrived at an ideal machine learning model. Got it? Now, testing the hypothesis on the training examples provides an optimistically biased estimate of the hypothesis error. What do you understand by this? Optimistically biased estimate means whenever you're testing your hypothesis, means whenever you're making your machine learning model ready with your training examples, because it knows the properties of the training examples, because it knows all the attribute combinations of the training examples, it will provide optimistically biased estimate. It will provide very good attractive biased estimate of the hypothesis error. It will give 95%, 99% accuracy also, because training examples are all seen by the machine learning model, are all known to the machine learning model. So it gives overfitting. It performs overfitting of the data. It gives an optimistically biased estimate. It overfits with the training examples because it knows each and every possible combination in the training examples. Now, what is of interest is how it performs well with the unseen data. With known data, it performs very well and it gives optimistically biased estimate. It overfits the data, but how does it perform with the new data or unseen data? What error it encounters with the unseen data? That is of interest to us. Okay, and that is the true measure of accuracy of any machine learning model. How good a machine learning model performs with training data is not of our interest, because it knows each and every attribute combination in the training examples. But how good a machine learning model performs with the unseen data or new data, that is of interest to us. That accuracy is the valid evaluation metric, valid evaluation measure about the performance of a machine learning model. So in order for sample error to give an unbiased estimate of the true error, the hypothesis H and the sample S must be chosen independently. They must be chosen independent of each other. Means H should not be influencing the sample that is being taken at random, and sample should not be influencing the hypothesis that is framed. Right? Means you should not cook up your data. You should not try to forcefully fit your sample with your hypothesis or hypothesis with your sample. They should be taken independently. They should be chosen independent of each other in order for the sample error to give an unbiased estimate, almost near estimate of the true error. Got it? This notion of estimation, this idea of estimation bias should not be confused with the inductive bias of a learner. We already have seen inductive bias in the previous chapters, right? Inductive bias is the assumptions we make. Say simplest tree is the best hypothesis, or you have to consider only conjunctions in the candidate elimination algorithm, conjunction of attributes in the candidate elimination algorithm. These are all called as inductive biases or assumptions we make about a learning model. But estimation bias is like a numerical quantity. The difference between your sample error and the true error can be treated as estimation bias, and you have to reduce that estimation bias as much as possible in order to make your machine learning model highly generalizable so that it predicts well the unseen data also, the new data also. Did you understand? Now, a second property or second important property of any estimator we are considering so far is variance. Now, given a choice among alternative unbiased estimators, it makes sense to choose the one with least variance, common sense, right? Now, whenever you're given a sample, whenever you're given some estimator measures, whenever you're given some quantities about the estimators, which one do you choose? You choose an estimator with the least variance, means the data should be very stable so that it gives a good estimate of sample as well as the true error, right? The variance in the estimate should be very less. There should not be instability in the estimation. The estimation should be highly stable. You select such kind of estimations only, right? So we have to see that it should have least variance. Given a choice among alternative unbiased estimators, you're given 2-3 estimators, it is a common sense to choose the one with the least variance, more stable estimator, right? Now, by our definition of variance, this choice will yield the smallest expected squared error between the estimate and the true value of the parameter, right? Some squared error. You remember what is this? It gives the expected squared error, mean square. They normally say it as mean squared error. Whenever you're fitting the machine learning models in order to find out the accuracy, or when you want to compare between two machine learning models, in that case, you have to measure this mean squared error, which the model with the least mean squared error is the best performing model. Why? Because it is giving the least estimate bias between the sample error and the true error, right? By our definition of variance, this choice will yield the smallest expected squared error between the estimate and the true value of the parameter. The difference between the sample error and the true error, when it is squared and summed up, it should be the least. Okay, that model should be your choice. The model that gives the least MSE should be your choice. Least mean squared error should be your choice. Least mean squared error means what? The square, summed up, the average of summed up values of the differences between the sample error and the true error will give you mean squared error. That should be the least to find out the best machine learning model, best performing machine learning model. Now, now to illustrate these concepts, suppose we test a hypothesis and find that it commits. Simple thing, what all we have studied now, just we are illustrating with an example. So it will be easy for you to understand. Last slide, okay? Don't fall asleep. Listen carefully. To illustrate the concepts we have learned so far, suppose we test a hypothesis and find that it commits 12 prediction errors. Consider, assume, okay, on a sample of 40 data points. Okay, now your model is ready by being trained with all training examples. Now you're trying to find how much true error it is giving, means how many correct predictions it is making and how many wrong predictions it is making with new instances, with new data points. Okay, so you have taken those new data points or the sample of new data points as n equal to 40. Total 40 data points you have taken. Out of that, your hypothesis means your machine learning model is making 12 mistakes, 12 prediction errors. Then an unbiased estimate for the true error is given by the sample error, both will be the same. When we say unbiased estimate, always remember it is that sample error is equal to true error. When I say unbiased estimate, sample error is equal to true error. Okay, then an unbiased estimate for true error is nothing but the sample error. Now, what is the sample error? How is it calculated? The number of prediction errors made by the total number of data points. How many number of prediction errors made? 12. Out of how many data points? 40. So it will give you 0.3 or 30% of the data points are predicted wrongly. So the sample error is 0.3 and that would be equal to the true error because we are interested in unbiased estimate. Right? So the variance in this estimate arises completely from the variance in R because N is a constant. Now consider whenever we are taking R by N, in this N is constant. Why? Because the number of data points we have taken is 40. Now when we are performing the experiment, does this change? Does this number of data points in the experiment change? In the sample change? No. Only R will change. Right? Only the number of predictions made, whether they are correct or wrong, that only will change. N will not change, though you repeat the experiment with different samples, right? So the variance in this estimate arises completely from the variance in R, but not in N because N is a constant. Now, because R is binomially distributed, we understood that R is binomially distributed from the binomial distribution we have learned in the last class. Because R is binomially distributed, its variance can be written as NP into 1 minus P, right? Product of number of data points and the probability of the event occurring and the probability of event not occurring. Product of all these will give you R, the variance. Okay. Now, as P is unknown, do you know the probability of number of prediction errors that may be made in a sample when you are picking the sample? No, P is unknown initially. As P is unknown, we can substitute our estimate R by N for P. Because we don't know P, we are assuming that your sample error is equal to the true error. What is your sample error? How is your sample error calculated as? R by N. What is your true error represented as? P, the probability of the new instance being classified as a wrong one. That is P. Now, can you equate these two? Because you are interested in unbiased estimate, so that your sample error is equal to your true error. So equate these two. R by N is R by N can be substituted by P. Now this yields an estimated variance in R of, how can you write this now? NP into 1 minus P. So N is 40 into P is, because P is nothing but R by N. R by N is nothing but 0.3 given here. You can write instead of P 0.3 into 1 minus P, that is 0.3. Okay, that will give you the variance as 8.4. Now the corresponding deviation is nothing but square root of 8.4, which is approximately equal to 2.9. Got it? Now this implies that the standard deviation in the sample error, which is indicated as R by N, is approximately, how can you write it now? R is now calculated as 2.9, right? So you can write it as 2.9 divided by 40. So that will give you 0.07. Okay, so the standard deviation here is calculated now as 0.07. Standard deviation in the sample error is calculated as 0.07. Now to summarize, finally, your sample error in this case is observed to be 0.30, which is this one, with a standard deviation of approximately 0.07, means plus 0.07 or minus 0.07. Okay, your mean is your the sample error lies here, which is 0.30 plus or minus the standard deviation 0.07. So the difference this side and this side can be 0.07 deviation spread in the data. Width of that normal distribution can be 0. Plus or minus 0.07. So the mean of the sample error is taken here as 0.30 and the standard deviation as plus or minus 0.07. Okay, so in general, given R errors, if R prediction errors are made in a sample of n data points, in a sample of n independently drawn test examples, or the new instances that are supplied to the machine learning model for prediction, out of that R errors are made, R predictions are made wrongly, then the standard deviation for the sample error is given by, how can you represent that? Sigma of sample error is nothing but sigma R by n, means the standard deviation of the event, that is the error, prediction errors divided by the total number of data points or new instances that are given to the machine learning model. So that can be represented as square root of p into 1 minus p divided by n. Okay, so this is your standard deviation representation that we have seen in the initial sessions, beginning sessions of this chapter. It is probability into 1 minus probability, the events probability multiplied by the events non-occurrence. Okay, well, square root of p into 1 minus p divided by the total number of data points, right, which can be approximated by substituting R by n equal to this sample error in the place of p, for p, so that you can write it as sigma, that is the standard deviation for the sample error, can be approximately equated to square root of, instead of p you can substitute the sample error, because it is an unbiased estimate, because R by n is equal to p, instead of p you can substitute R by n, but R by n is nothing but your sample error, so you are writing it here. Instead of p you are giving sample error into 1 minus sample error, p into 1 minus p, instead of p you are substituting sample error. Got it? So it is sample error multiplied by 1 minus sample error divided by the total number of data points. That is the standard deviation associated with your sample error, right? This is how we understand mean, variance, estimators, biased estimate, and variance. In the next coming session, we'll see what are confidence intervals and two-sided and one-sided bounds. All these topics are very, very important in order to take an informed decision about which machine learning model will fit your data. Something is happening behind, and if you're not able to interpret that when you have taken up a job as a machine learning expert and you're not able to understand what is happening behind the scene, you can't take any good decisions. So you need to understand all the statistical concepts that are underlying these machine learning models, so that you can take some informed decisions and develop good machine learning models. Okay, so don't take this chapter very easily. Actually, this chapter should have come prior to 2-3 modules earlier, so that you would have a good foundation to understand the later concept. But not a problem. Once you have idea about all the concepts in this module, you can still go back and read the other modules. You'll understand them better than before. Okay, now tell me, what is mean? How is it represented as? Students, mean or estimated value, how is it represented as? The mean of a random variable y is represented as E of y, estimated value of y. Now, how is variance of a random variable represented? Variance of y. Now, tell me, how is the standard deviation represented? How is the standard deviation represented? Murugesh? Shashank?
Ma'am, sigma of y equal to,
Sigma.
ma'am, means
What is, no. How do you find the standard deviation when variance of y is given?
the square root of
Correct. Square root of variance of y. That will give you the standard deviation. Now, can anybody tell me the formula for binomial distribution? Quickly. The probability of the random variable taking up the value r means, say if you are tossing a coin 100 times, out of that, what is the probability of expecting 60 heads? Or what is the probability of expecting 35 heads? How can it be represented as a binomial distribution? Can anybody tell me? N factorial, total number of coin tosses that are made, divided by r factorial, number of heads, number of times you find heads out of n coin tosses, into multiplied by Shashank, Pooja, multiplied by n minus
r factorial.
Minus
yes,
r factorial.
n minus r factorial multiplied by probability of finding head in a single coin toss raised to the power of number of times you observed heads out of n coin tosses multiplied by number of times you found, one second, you found tails raised to the power of n minus r. That is number of times tail is found. The probability that number of times tail has occurred raised to the power of number of times tail is seen in the total number of n coin tosses, that is n minus r. This is called as binomial distribution. Okay, this is how you calculate the probability of r by using binomial distribution, right? Any doubts in today's class, students? Any doubts? Shall we end the class? Okay, then we'll meet in the next class with the coming up concepts.